Welcome into the Stokastic MMA strategy show. Is here to get you ready for Saturday's UFC 277, headlined by two rematches, both title fights. Of course, you got Juliana Pena making her first title defense in an immediate rematch against Amanda Nunes. And then you got a rematch for the interim flyweight title. Brandon Moreno taking on Kai Kara France. We'll be here for the next hour to break this one down for you. Of course, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. We'll talk about some of those Prize Picks throughout the show here, as one of the things of I kind of want to incorporate Prize Picks, some of these props that really do stick out to me throughout the show. Of course, we'll talk about the ones we really love here about halfway through the show. Of course, you know the deal. Be sure to hit those questions up in the YouTube chat. As my guy Pete. Pete, did you get a new chair? You look a little different today.
No, I didn't get a new chair. You know what's going on over here, Jason. And what's up, everybody? It's a disaster over here. But it's okay. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, computer's breaking, motor in the car is blowing up, chairs, temperamental. It's just ridiculous. So we're banking the tournament this weekend. We have no other option.
So you're telling me there's a laundry list of things that 200K is going to go for?
Oh, absolutely. And of all weekends, this is the weekend that we needed to happen. So
yeah, I will tell you, just kind of obviously as we do this show, FanDuel salaries have not come out. If they come out during the show, we'll mention some of those salaries. Just kind of thinking about some roster construction before we kind of start breaking into the fights. I mean, look, you talk about, the term we hear on the gambling side of thing is value, boys. There's some value on this card on the DraftKings slate. I mean, hell, you look in the main event, co-main event, you got two 7,000 fighters that I think there's one 7,000 fighter I want to get to much more than other ones. But to me, like, there are fights on this card that I go, man, the likelihood is the winner's getting 100 points or greater than 100 points. But man, there is some volatility in those matchups. Like, to me, Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich, two guys who, I mean, let's just call it what it is. They're going to go in the center of the cage and they're going to throw them bungalows. Derek Lewis may only throw 10 strikes, but one of those 10 strikes may end up, ending the night here for Sergey Pavlovich. And of course, we'll get into that. Or Cosce and Blood Diamond, I think, is another one of those matchups. Like those two matchups, I will tell you, are going to be priority fights for me today on this slate. But man, it has got high volatility on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can already bet that some of your losing lineups are going to have single digit performers. It's just a given. And some volatile matchups, looking to see how a lot of these fighters that are handling defeat, how are they going to come back, right? Was the damage in their last fight too much? Are they able to overcome that adversity and get back in the win column? That's a lot of pressure to get back in the win column. In addition to that, like coming off of crazy damage, even like Drew Dober, right? Against Terrence McKinney, took a ridiculous amount of shots and tons of damage. It was very, very close to getting stopped in round one, and persevered and was able to come out ahead and get to victory. But man, interesting slate. I think it's going to be a really high scoring slate. I said that last weekend and I was incorrect. It was a little bit of a dud. But I think this weekend's going to pop off.
Mention this super chat we already got from Sam, and Sam, appreciate the super chat. He says, hope this car is better than the last. How should fighters should we emphasize into groups between underdogs and or darts? And this is something that me and you talk about on the show all the time, of when you're over in Fantasy Crunch, you're over at Stokastic.com, and you're putting together groups. Now, like when we're talking about MMA, we constantly talk about an underdog group. I don't really necessarily put a dart group together. It's more for me when I'm putting an underdog. It's more of me thinking, okay, if they can come through, they're going to be an optimal type score.
Yeah, so I always prioritize certain fights, and granted, you have two title fights on the card, so I think you have to get to at least one of them. The likelihood of both of them not making the optimal lineup, I think is pretty slim. I'd say it's under 10%. I think one of the fights are going to sneak into the optimal lineup, and the Nunes Pena one is difficult for me to get away from. The flyweight matchup between Moreno and Kai Kara France is going to be high action, so that's possibly fantasy points galore. But the the thing with flyweight matchups is that they tend to go the distance. So even if they negate each other in some of these scrambles and certain aspects of the fight, does the DFS score, equal out, especially on this card? So we'll have to see. But as far as underdogs, you already know that 8,200, 8,000 fight is going to be a priority fight for me. It's just super, super cheap. It sneaks into your lineups more often than not. And it's one where I'm not expecting it to go the distance.
Yeah, no question about it. Of course, appreciate everyone tuning in here for the MMA strategy shows. Get ready for UFC 277. Of course, be sure show some support for you guys here. Hit that thumbs up button. That really does help us a lot as well. Of course, be sure to subscribe to Stokastic right here on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you know when a show is live here on the channel. And if you're not a member over at Stokastic.com, you will get a little peek what's behind the paywall. Today's free premium day and tools, our MLB player projections, and PGA top golfers. And also we do have something new over at Stokastic.com is if you want to try out our tools for MLB DFS, we have set our tools and projections for night slates 100% free. So it's a great way to kind of test out everything that we offer if you're on the fence to subscribing to Stokastic.com. Of course, later on today, you got MLB deeper dive starting at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Of course, that is definitely something I'm going to be checking out as, I got, man, Pete got off to a great start last night on FanDuel. Downhill. Downhill, man. I was driving home from the office a little late, and I was like, oh, let me check my 150 FanDuel max. I'm like, oh man, I'm in 4th place. Oh
geez.
It went downhill from there.
The swings of DFS, brother. Yeah, the swings of DFS. I was doing great in NASCAR over the weekend until I wasn't. So that's just how it is. And
please tell me you're not that guy that's checking your NASCAR standings during the race. You can't do that, bro.
No, but like when the majority of the race is fine and then Chastain gets wrecked, it's you knew it was coming. But of course, I was overweight to Larson and Chastain. It did not work out. But yeah, I mean GPPs are fun. Single entries are in a world of their own. You have to be very, very sharp. But as far as 150 maxes, man, the swings are crazy.
Yeah, man. In NASCAR, dude, it's so tough because things can just change in an instant.
Oh my God.
And especially that last lap. You hope your guy doesn't wreck out here. But of course, we're here to talk about the UFC, and let's hit right into our main event. Juliana Pena defending the women's bantamweight title against Amanda Nunes. First time that met was 7 months ago. I'm saying years, 7 months ago. And of course, in that one, Amanda Nunes was what 10-1 favorite, 8-1 favorite, something along those lines. Now she's still the favorite here in the rematch. She's 9,200 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. Amanda Nunes a minus 270 betting favorite in this one. And Pete, one of the things, and I sent this note over to Pete, when we're talking about UFC title matches that are immediate rematches, 11-2 is the fighter who won the first fight. So if you're a Juliana Pena, which obviously she has great value here in this matchup, that one definitely sticks out to you. But there's a quote I saw earlier over on Instagram that I want to read to you, Pete, and I just want to get your instant reaction to this one.
Okay.
This is Juliana Pena yesterday. I'm going to stand there toe-to-toe with the best in the world, and I'm going to give my best, and we're going to see whose ovaries are bigger. I'm willing to bet that's me.
Hey, as I mentioned in the Odd Shopper video, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. Every week, Jason and I, we go through the main card, breaking it down from a betting perspective. It's called Takedown City. I mentioned that I think in 2022, Juliana Pena has a little bit more of a dog in her than Amanda Nunes. So I can basically draw some similarities to what she's saying and to what I'm saying. I do think that when push comes to shove, she's going to have that little grit that's going to, make her persevere if there's any adversity. You saw it in round 1. She was getting walloped at points, and it didn't look like it was going to be a crazy change in the tide. You thought that she was on her way to getting finished. And then you see Amanda Nunes come out fatigued. And I really think that Juliana Pena, developed a ton of confidence from that. And the confidence of Amanda Nunes definitely diminished after that fight. And with all these, outside changes, changing camps, pointing the finger and not necessarily taking ownership of, the first defeat. American Top Team was the reason that you are Amanda Nunes, right? And now that you basically go away from American Top Team and you start your own gig, obviously the dynamic between her and Kayla Harrison was quite awkward, and shame on the gym for doing that. But I don't know. I don't like all these changes, truthfully. I think that Juliana Pena is going to retain the title, and I think she's going to, go out there and shock the doubters once again.
I watched the countdown video and I watched a couple of the episodes of Embedded. I mean, look, there's one of these things of the thing that's most comical to me about Juliana Payne and her team is they truly believe this narrative that Amanda Nunes ducked her for years. Like, it is amazing. Like, oh yeah, so she should have fought you instead of a massive payday to fight Ronda Rousey. She should have fought you instead of a massive payday for Chris Cyborg. It's things like that, but there's this one of these things of I'm not sure what to expect out of Amanda Nunes in this one. How much was COVID part of her performance back at UFC 269? How much of it maybe are we seeing the downside of Amanda Nunes? She's 35 years old. And for the most part, you see, when fighters become this age outside of the heavyweight division, typically you start to see a regression in terms of their abilities. When I hear that line, I'm going to go toe to toe. I don't think that's a smart game plan, Pete. Like, to me, if you're Juliana Pena, and look, and Sammy was asking about, will Juliana Pena beat chalk? I think she'll absolutely beat chalk in cash games. If you're playing any type of cash game and you don't roster Juliana Pena, just imagine whether you're playing a head-to-head or something else, that a lot of people are going to have Juliana Pena. I love the value here on Juliana Pena. But look, I want to get to Amanda Nunes as well, because we know the power that she has in her hands. And I do wonder maybe if there is a false sense of security because of how the first fight went with Team Pena, that they kind of believe we can have a brawl against Amanda Nunes. I don't know what to expect out of Amanda Nunes. I have no idea. Yeah. But in terms of if you tell me this fight ends in the first round, I think that is a Amanda Nunes knockout victory. If you tell me this fight hits round 3, to me, it is a advantage Juliana Pena.
I'm a little bit more confident in Pena, I think. And the reason is because we already saw this unfold. There's a lot of intangibles that go into that bout, obviously. Outside influences, the drama within the gym, cardio, possibly COVID, possibly injuries, all that. No fighter's 100% when they walk into the octagon. And I always thought that Amanda Nunes had questionable cardio. It's just a matter of if she could be tested and if she could be the same fighter on the back foot as she is when she's the one that's advancing. So you're great as the hammer. How are you as the nail? As I always say. Mm-hmm. And I do think that Pena can weather the storm a little bit more than Amanda Nunes can in 2022. Now, if you really want to look at it from a value perspective, you're getting what was once a massive favorite in Amanda Nunes at an extremely discounted price. So even on DraftKings, I would imagine Amanda Nunes is going to be one of the most chalkiest and popular plays on the slate, because people are basically thinking that first fight was a fluke. If you believe it was a fluke, then Amanda Nunes should be a priority play for you. I don't necessarily think it was a fluke. I think this is somewhat of the changing of the guard. So I'm going to be favoring Juliana Pena in the matchup, and her price tag is broken. It really is broken and allows you to get to so much on the entire slate. So, you can make an argument from either one. I really like the pressure and the pace of Juliana Pena. And even if you look at it on paper, she shouldn't have won that first fight, but it's really hard for you to try to sway me another way when I saw Amanda Nunes break as she did.
Look, I'm interested to see what that FanDuel price is on Juliana Pena, because I think we'll probably maybe have a little different in terms of slate. I would imagine she's probably at least $16, would just be my guess. So I think on the FanDuel side of the equation, it's going to be a little different. And when you look at the price picks props on this one, the one that sticks out to me is the Amanda Nunes takedown landed prop. Right now that sits at 1.5. I like the under on that one, just because if you're Amanda Nunes, and we always talk about what is the best path to victory, look, if she can be in top position, okay, that's a good path to her victory. But I just think of, if you're Amanda Nunes, you want to keep this fight on the feet. That's why I do like the under 1.5 in terms of the takedown prop over there. I know Samuel mentioned he already played some surprise picks based on our odd shopper video, but over on prize picks, that's one That does stick out to me. Now, the co-main event is also a 5-round fight, interim flyweight title matchup. This is a rematch between Brandon Moreno and Kai Kara France. 8,900 for Brandon Moreno, 7,300 for Kai Kara France. And going back to our first matchup, which was a 3-round fight, Kai Kara France got off to a great start. Brandon Moreno took the second and third round. Big story with Brandon Moreno leading into this matchup is the changes that he has made with his coaching staff. He left his longtime team there in Tijuana, now splitting his training between Las Vegas and Lee Summit, Missouri. James Krause is essentially now his head coach. If you watch the countdown video, and I know there's some people that are subscribers to our site that may not be the biggest James Krause fan, even if you're not the big James Krause fan, go watch that countdown video, because James Krause talked about his philosophy as a coach. And I thought it was a really interesting philosophy. He goes, and he correlated to a football coach. He goes, I don't look at it as an entire game. I don't look at it as a quarter. I don't look at it as a half. I look at it as each individual play of how we can correct our mistakes from each individual play. I don't know how much changes he can make. Brandon Moreno, to me, where the difference in this fight really could be, and especially from a DFS perspective, Pete, is potentially his ability to take this fight to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I really like James Krause because I think that he's a great strategist and he can develop a strategy to, complement Brandon Moreno's strengths. I think that his track record inside the UFC for being a smaller gym isn't the best, but you're comparing it to American Top Team, which is the best gym on the planet right now, or in some other crazy gyms as well. So it's a gym on the rise. And I think a lot of his reputation is going to be determined on how Brandon Moreno performs on Saturday, because, you have Brandon Moreno, who was, the champ at one time. And then, I thought that he was going to have a ton of more success in the grappling department against Deiveson Figueiredo. Didn't really go to that well, and chose to stand and strike, which turned out to be a recipe for a disaster, because it allowed Figueiredo to just pick him apart at times and land a ton of damaging shots. In 2022, I am a little bit worried about Moreno's chin, because in the previous matchup against Figueiredo, he was knocked down 3 times. And normally a durable fighter in Brandon Moreno, his tendency for striking defense is to keep his chin sky high in the air. So I'm a little bit worried about that against Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France hit him with a really good shot in their first encounter and almost knocked them down. Wasn't scored as a knockdown. It was pretty close though. So, and Kai Kara France has been on fire. This kid has looked amazing. Obviously, his Achilles heel is his wrestling and his grappling. That is the best path to victory for Brandon Moreno, is blend everything together. Blend your striking into your takedowns. James Krause has a beautiful system of takedowns against the cage. Utilize that grappling to win rounds, solidify rounds, and test the submission defense of Kai Kara France. He's not going to be as dangerous a fighter if you really incorporate your wrestling. If not, you're going to allow him to compete and possibly beat you. So I think the value on both fighters is fantastic. 8,900 for a fighter that has tremendous grappling upside, even finishing upside in Brandon Moreno, totally fine with it. Kai Kara France, because of his volume and his striking and his power of late, that's been on full display. 7,300, I think, is a great price tag as well. Stacking this fight is an interesting little strategy for this slate. I'm not against it. It's flyweight. It's probably going to go the distance. Tons of activity. I am favoring Brandon Moreno because of the grappling upside. Now, does he choose to do it or does he not? Does he, regress? Does he completely, look like he's on fire and in the best of his career? That's what we'll have to see on Saturday night. But I think Moreno has all the tools to get this done in a decisive manner.
And in terms of, look, if you're looking for some cheap cash plays, I could very well see where you just pair Pena and Kai Kara France together. And then at that point, it allows you to get to whatever you want to get to in terms of the rest of your lineups here. One of the things that to me, the grappling edge, I think, could be a huge advantage, for Brandon Moreno in this matchup. Of course, when you want to get access to all the great premium data and tools we have over at Stokastic.com. You got to sign up for a Stokastic Plus Platinum Pass. Of course, this gives you full access to everything we got over there at Stokastic. Stokastic.com, including player projections, ownership projections, lineup builder, our premium Discord channel, and so much more. And if you are a new Stokastic Plus user, we got a great deal for you to take advantage of, as you can save 50% off your first week of any Stokastic Plus pass. All you got to do is click the link in the video description below to activate this offer, or you can head over to our join page at Stokastic.com and use the promo code MMA Strategy Show. That's all caps, one word, MMA Strategy Show, for 50% off your first week of any weekly package. And of course, if you just want to play MMA DFS, we've got a weekly package over there for you. So be sure to use that promo code, because when you use that promo code, that lets the team over here at Stokastic.com know you heard about it right here on the MMA Strategy Show. It's a great way to show your support for myself and Pete. Of course, I already downloaded that Top Fighter tool, and there was some interesting data there in that Top Fighter tool that definitely stuck out to me, that will definitely, if those numbers stay kind of where they're at right now, it's going to kind of alter some of the things that I do here with developing my multi-entry lineups. Sam Pierce, I appreciate you in the super chat. He goes, I think Nunes will lead the hype. And with the new kid, she gave the time to the wrong things. I think she will have a brand new hunger. What I would say that to Sam is there was an article I was reading over, I want to say it was on ESPN.com. And it was where Nina Nunes, her wife, said to her that she should have pulled out of 269, that her body was not in the right condition. I mean, look, we're going to find out on Saturday night how much of that was legit, or maybe how much that maybe is an excuse there. Sam says, he goes, what's your guys' thoughts on the lineup? I've been playing with Dober, Kaikar France, Morales,
Nunes. Yeah, he said
Nunes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Pavlovich, Anthony Smith.
A lot of fights we're gonna get to, but
a lot of fights you're gonna get to. I will tell you this: I'm not in love with Anthony Smith this week.
Well, I can't wait to talk about that. I do think that there's a ton of disrespect towards Anthony Smith, but I do favor Ankalaev.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a moment. Let's get to a heavyweight match between Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich. 8,200 for Sergey Pavlovich, 8,000 for Derek Lewis. And I mean, look, these two guys, they love to throw hands. I mean, that's about the best way to put it. To me, the question on the Derek Lewis side of the equation, Pete, is what is Derek Lewis right now? One of the things it's kind of always been really this unknown with Derek Lewis is how healthy is he into walking into the matchup. He's had the back issues for a long time. You look and on the other side with Sergey Pavlovich, one of the things I question is, okay, he's put off these great first round knockout victories, but it's not against top 10 competition.
Against who? Yeah. That's the issue here, right? And it's a good point, Jason. This is a very difficult matchup because you have Derek Lewis, who is an oddball, and you never really know how his health is. You never really know how his motivation is. And he's coming off of one of the worst defeats of his career, if not the worst. And Tai Tuivasa, man, really face planted him in that matchup. And it looked good early for Derek Lewis. I mean, he landed 2 takedowns. He was landing some big shots. I thought he was en route to, getting another finish. And Tai Tuivasa is just his chin is ridiculous, and he was able to, reverse position and start landing some big shots on Lewis. And I believe it was an elbow, if I'm not mistaken. I just remember it being a devastating knockout, and I was like, goodness gracious. And in 2022, how do we evaluate Derek Lewis? As an underdog, it's a very interesting spot, and probably I'm going to lean in his direction just because he has so many knockouts within the division. He's seen everything. Yes, he has lackadaisical output, very lethargic at times, backs up, allows his opponents into the fight, makes him feel comfortable, lands a big shot, and all of a sudden he, from the jaws of defeat, walks away with a victory. I think that I'm still going to side with Derek Lewis just because I've seen more against top competition. Sergey Pavlovich has all the skills to put away Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis does not like to get hit. Not many people do, especially in the heavyweight division. I'm going to be pretty close to 50-50 on this fight, but it's hard for me not to lean towards Derek Lewis when it's $200 savings and I can get to him in a ton of my lineups.
Pete, I know you coach fighters. Yes. I think Joshua has a suggestion for you.
What's up?
Shoeys make chins great.
Hey, I can't hate on Josh with that comment. They might. I mean, if you're willing to do some crazy things, and that was just a wild fight. And I'm gonna have tons of exposure to both Sergey Pavlovich and Derek Lewis. You're looking at Derek Lewis's record. It's much more impressive than Sergey Pavlovich, but it's 2022. And from what Derek Lewis was saying in an interview, he said that he switched things up. He switched camps. I can't really tell if he's lying or telling the truth. So it's very hard. But he said he switched camps up, and he's back to having fun and enjoying training again. So he said that he's doing everything that he should have been doing all along. I'm leaning towards Derek Lewis at 8,000.
I want to get to both sides of it. I mean, look, you talk about boom bust of this fight card. To me, this is this fight.
For sure.
The one problem you have with Derek Lewis is he's not a volume puncher, but you do know he can end your night with one punch. And Pavlovich, I mean, look, just my concern with him is just he hasn't done it against the top of this division. So we'll see what happens there. Samuel, appreciate your super chat. We'll talk about these short notice fires as we get to them, as we have 4 fighters stepping up here on short notice. Sam Pierce saying, he goes, Lewis did horrible with hometown jitters. I mean, look, that's the one thing that to me it makes MMA DFS such a tough sport is you just don't know what the psyche of a fighter is heading into a matchup. I mean, Pete, you can talk about this. This sport, I mean, like, to me, this is one of the most mental sports there is out there because like when fighters open up to me about that side of the sport, in a way, I think you're kind of blown away about how much of this sport is mental as opposed to physical. And like last week's commentary, I thought Bisping and Felder did a great job talking about Jai Herbert during that fight of you're trying to bounce back from a fight where you got brutally KO'd. And Felder and Bisping were basically saying like, hey, this guy is clearly fighting tentative because of what happened in his last fight.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really just like erase the chalkboard and like start fresh. All these bad memories are still lingering in the back of your head. When you're getting knocked out, the pressure, everything that's on the line is still right there. So you have to balance putting that aside and focusing on the task at hand. And I always say to my fighters, this game is much more mental than it is physical, much more mental. You hear about people that are able to, perform so well in the gym, and then under the lights, it's a completely different game. I always bring up Clay Guida against Anthony Pettis. I was out in New Mexico training, and Clay Guida was getting submitted by people that were low level, pros, and especially with the triangle, and just not being the best gym competitor. Under the lights, he's a different animal. You know what I mean? Like it's game on for him. So that's the intangibles that we really can't correlate or put a finger on. So I'm always going to make sure that for my lineups, I construct with variance, and I add randomness as well. So using the tools on stokastic.fantasycruncher.com allows it to be, it's really easy to make lineups and account for some of that variance.
Samuel says, he goes, how does camp switching help a fighter? Samuel, to me, that's a case by case basis. I think it's depending on what is that fighter looking for. I mean, there's a lot of fighters who, they're at a smaller gym and then they decide, you know what, I want to go to a super camp because, and it may not necessarily be about the coaches. It's about the bodies in the room. Like, I mean, take American Top Team, take Killcliff FC, AKA Jackson's. I mean, name the team. It could be as much about those bodies in the room as opposed to who the coaches are.
Yeah, and weight classes are different too. Like, it's hard for big guys to find other big guys to train with. Heavyweight switching camps is one of the most difficult things because the skill gap is crazy. It's wide. Whereas a lot of gyms 55 and under, there's plentiful, you know what I mean? Like plenty of training partners. So I'm interested to see if Derek Lewis looks better or worse, but of course I'm going to let his UFC resume sway me in his direction ever so slightly.
Next up, we got a flyweight matchup between Alejandro Pantoja and Alex Perez. 7,500 for Alex Perez and Pantoja. He is 8,700. And first off, talking Alex Perez has not fought since November of 2020 when he lost to Davison Figueiredo. He's had some fights that just ultimately did not come together. Part of I think the story with Alex Perez is we got to see what he looks like on the scale, Pete, on Friday. Of course, remember he was supposed to fight Matt Schnell earlier this year. Fight gets pulled after the weigh-ins with his weight cut. So to me, part of this equation is going in there and seeing what does he look like on the scale.
Yeah, so I think the absence from the cage is a red flag. I always bring it up every single slate. I like fighters that are acclimated, especially when they're jumping in against top competition. So Alex Perez looking to come back with a long absence and a ton of canceled bouts to go up against one of the most dangerous guys within the division against Alexandre Pantoja. You're going up against an A+ opponent, right? He needs to get back and get his feet under him with a B- type of opponent. And I think the Matt Schnell fight made a lot more sense than this one. Looking to get back in the cage and not skip a beat against Alexandre Pantoja, especially when you struggle in the department that he excels at, in the grappling, in the submission department, blending it all together. Yeah, I'm favoring Alexandre Pantoja here at 8,700. We always talked about the skills of Alex Perez and always thought that he's one of the guys that's going to be nipping at the champ's heels. He definitely can still be that guy. Mm-hmm. It's just in 2022, what has he been doing? I don't like the fact that he's had numerous canceled bouts.
Well, he's essentially the assistant head coach at Team Oyama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's good, right? Like, it's not like he's sitting on the couch eating Cheetos. He's enjoying.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I mean, like, you can have Cheetos. I like Cheetos. I like eating chips. Okay. Chips are my weakness.
All right. Are we a Cheetos crunchy or Cheetos puffs?
I mean, I'm not gonna go get Cheetos. I'm a Doritos guy. I'm a Doritos guy.
Cool Ranch, bro. Cool Ranch, bro.
You got to get the spicy. Spicy stuff is bomb.
Oh,
but
no,
as
man.
long as
Ranch,
you train
bro.
hard, as long as you train hard, you can have some Doritos or some Cheetos. But it's still not like competing. It's good, but it's not like competing. So Alexandre Pantoja gets the nod for me.
Joshua, I'm Cheetos crunchy all the way, man.
Spicy
nacho. Probably with the puffs, you just get stuck up all your teeth. Look, you come here for DFS analysis and you get a little chip analysis along the way.
Yeah, Tyler, put a chip debate, put a poll in the chat right now. We got to figure out which are we Team Doritos or Team Cheetos? Because I think it's Doritos all day long. Not even close.
Why not both?
No, because it's not fun to say, yeah, both are great. No, you got to pick one, Jason, and it's Team Doritos.
I gotta go Team Cheetos Crunchy, bro.
Oh my God. You would like Cheetos. Man.
Why are you hating over here? Okay.
The Flamin' Hot Cheetos are slamming. They're great, but you're going to have a stomach ache for days.
I will tell you, Salsa Verde tortilla chips, those are really good. If you can find those in your grocery store.
Look at, yeah, I mean, maybe, but look at all those Doritos love in here. Yeah, I knew it wouldn't even be close. If we're going to line the Doritos versus Cheetos fight, Doritos is 9,500, Cheetos 6,800 all day long.
So Tyler just put the poll up. Cheetos, yeah. Doritos, Lay's, or Ruffles? I've never been a big Lay's potato chip guy.
Yeah, sour cream and onion Lay's will literally come for every chip's throat and leave no prisoners. It is the greatest chip ever created. And Ruffles,
I can do that, yeah.
Ruffles with a little bit of ranch dip sauce, you're talking about a whole new world, which that's cheating, obviously, in this poll. But yeah, the Lay's, Jason, that's an egregious take.
Doritos are dominating right now. That's exactly what I expected. And listen, if you come here for MMA knowledge and then you leave with a little bit of a laugh and some entertainment, we're happy to have you guys here. And if you can hit that like button, get us over 100 likes, we really appreciate you.
Of course, the first fight of the pay-per-view, big matchup in the light heavyweight division. Magomed Ankalaev, Anthony Smith, Ankalaev 9,400, Anthony Smith 6,800. We got a tweet last night. I want to pull up what the tweet was. It was basically essentially saying the disrespect that Anthony Smith is getting in terms of ones. I mean, look, should the line be a little closer to what it is? And this was Dusty. He says the disrespect is real this week for Anthony Smith. Hopefully I hear differently from Pete and Jason. Look, Ankalaev is an extremely talented. I think that we really have not seen him put it together. Here's where I do like him in terms of this price point from a DFS perspective. If he goes out there and utilizes his grappling, he could put up a massive score.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Ankalaev from a DraftKings perspective. If he uses his grappling and his wrestling, we've seen that Anthony Smith can struggle in defending takedowns from time to time. But what Anthony Smith brings to the table is that he is live to pull an upset from bell to bell. If you lose to Paul Craig in the waning moments of the fight, you better believe that I'm going to think Anthony Smith has a shot. Now, I know that Anthony Smith has a ton of losses, and he's not the most inspiring fighter as far as like sometimes he can get bullied in the cage. And that's what I think is going to happen. Ankalaev is going to be burying leg kicks, body kicks, looking to counter Anthony Smith. I do think that the line is wide just because Ankalaev has shown fight IQ mistakes. And in addition to that, it's almost like there's no urgency sometimes. And in DFS, we really like urgency because if you're going out there and just having too much fun, does that really correlate to a strong DFS score? So I'm going to have lineups with Ankalaev, but I'm also accounting for the fact that he just goes out there and has a low output performance and kind of just he wins the rounds. But Thiago Santos dropping him, a little bit of a red flag. I know that I really like Thiago Santos. I'm probably going to have a few Anthony Smith lineups just because of who he's fought and what he's done in the division. And it seems like at this part of his career, he's hitting a different stride. I don't think that he's going to go and challenge for the title, but if you're not legit, Anthony Smith will sure find out. So it's Ankalaev for me in hopes that he really utilizes that wrestling or he gets a quick round 1 KO by a body kick.
Samuel, Anthony Smith's striking defense is 42%, gets hit a little more than 4 strikes per minute. And Anthony Smith has been really going around preparing for this one. Spent time at his home gym there in Nebraska, also went out to Colorado there at Factory X, and also went over to South Carolina to work with the Thompson and Weidman crew that's over there in South Carolina. So he's kind of made his way around in terms of this one. Next up is the feature prelim matchup is Matthew Semelsberger taking on Alex Morono, 8,600 for Semelsberger, 7,600 for Alex Morono. Pete, what you take?
This is a tricky one, right? Because Semelsberger's really got that power. And it's a guy that I think has been overachieving in the UFC, but also a guy that's kind of like, well, I guess he is legit. I didn't necessarily expect him to have this type of success inside the UFC. Alex Morono, another fighter that I have a little bit of trouble evaluating. On paper, it looks like Morono should have more skills, more ways to win, and the volume edge. But I mean, like Morono's to me, right? If I had a fighter fighting Morono, he seems so hittable, and I want to test that chin. So I honestly think that Semelsberger is going to land a big shot here. I'm favoring Semelsberger. I don't like him as a favorite, especially with the favorite price tag. But like if Morono utilized takedowns more, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I can get behind Morono. He landed 3 against Reese McKee. He went 1 of 5 against Anthony Perez. And outside of that, he's been content with just standing and trading. And yeah, he could have the volume edge over Semelsberger, but the Semelsberger power is legitimate, and I worry about him getting knocked out. So I'm going to be favoring Semelsberger. But as far as chalk, Morono is probably one of the chalkiest decision fighters. That's an underdog on the slate.
Yeah, this is one of those fights that I think if you're looking to make a GPP play, to me, it's take Semelsberger or pass on the fight.
Really? I mean,
the reason I say that, Pete, is
Yeah.
I just see a Morono win being a 15-minute decision, and I just don't know at his price point if a 15-minute decision is going to allow me to get to 650 points. Yeah, I got to bank this tournament. I got to help my guy Pete get a new chair.
Yeah, well, listen, the chair is at the bottom of the list. I need I need a new vehicle. But for me, don't overthink things sometimes. Still account for a low scoring slate. Sometimes these close decisions and these 70, 80-point winners as underdogs are enough to sneak into the optimal lineup, because volatile fights, fights ending in a draw or no contest, or just fighters underperforming too. If no underdogs come through and Morono is the only one, you better believe he's going to be in an optimal lineup. So I'd say I would agree with you for the large part, but still don't discount that possibility.
Of course, this is the MMA strategy shows. We're getting ready for UFC 277. We are sponsored by Prize Picks. You got to check out all the daily prop-based contests they have over at Prize Picks. Be sure to use that promo code AWESOME when you sign up, as they've got an instant first match deposit of up to $100. And Pete, as I look over at these props for UFC 277, there are several props that stick out to me as we're doing this show here on Thursday. I mentioned about that man Nunes takedown prop of 1.5. I like the under in that situation. Some other props that stick out to me, I like the under 1.5 takedowns on Michael Morales, just because I just don't think he's going to go with the takedown route there. Drakkar Klose 60.5 significant strikes. I like the over in terms of that one. And some other ones that I think are interesting. I want to see how they kind of lay out here. The Drew Dober fight time of 10 minutes is now 9 minutes. It was 10. Kind of maybe looking at the over there, especially if it gets under 8 minutes.
Okay.
And then the other two that stuck out to me was the under 10-minute fight time on Dontel Mays. Low level heavyweight matchup
so much.
And the other one on the fantasy score, the one that stuck out to me is Orion Cosce at 86.5.
Yeah. So, I really like the unders for the Cosce and the Morales fight. I have a lot of those in my pre-built lineups already. And I think that, the other ones that you mentioned are fine as well. The 8.5 time for Orion Cosce, I think it's going to go under, especially if you look at his record of how quick he finishes and his path to victory over Blood Diamond. So yeah, all in all, I think that there's money to be made on Prize Picks every week, and I enjoy it quite a bit.
And I talk about over on Prize Picks that if you like a prop on Thursday, don't wait till Saturday to make your play. Make it now. But there are going to be some props that it's like, okay, let me see how this one plays out. For instance, like if I'm looking at a prop that I want to kind of see where it goes, I would probably say something like the Jocelyn Edwards 8.5 significant strikes landed. I kind of want to see where that one goes at 8.5. I mean, I don't love that number. If he gets, under like say 78.5, I more like that number a little bit there, but you got to check over there at Prize Picks. Of course, use that promo code AWESOME. They got instant first match deposit of up to $100. Mentioning Drew Dober, we'll talk about him next as he takes on Rafael Alves. 9,000 Drew Dober, 7,200 for Rafael Alves. This is to me the question mark with this one, as Rafael Alves will be in my underdog pool, Pete, by the way.
Okay.
He's got to use his grappling, though. He's got to get this one to the ground.
You know what? I'm going to blow your mind. And you and I don't talk pre-show. I'm picking Rafael Alves to win the fight. And he's going to be one of my most overexposed underdogs on the slate, just because of where Drew Dober's at in 2022. And the issue of Drew Dober is that round one against Terrence McKinney, he got taken down several times. He got knocked down. He got hit with so many damaging blows. And as Drew Dober always does, he weathers the storm. And if your cardio is suspect, or if you are a fraud in certain spots, he can go out and expose you. He's done it time and time again. But I feel like he's due to get knocked out one of these days. He's due to get knocked out, and he's due to get, submitted as well. We've seen him get submitted. He's not the best fighter when it comes to grappling or wrestling. Rafael Alves starts fast. He hits really hard. He has excellent chokes, beautiful guillotines. And if you go back on his regional tape, he actually emphasizes the takedown a lot more than what he's shown inside the UFC. So on the Dana White's Contender Series, he got a second-round submission over Alejandro Flores, looked damn good in that. Then they pair him up against Damir Ismagulov, very difficult fight, got taken down twice. Knocked down Damir in that bout, though, and Damir is an absolute stud, so I like that. and then he hurts Diakese and then submits him with a guillotine choke. So I don't think we've actually seen all of his skills on display. And we saw one very, very difficult matchup against Demir Ismagulov, and he had his moments. So I'm picking Rafael Alves. I think the price is great at 7,200, but I also worry about him gassing out. Like, I feel like the early portion of the fight can favor Rafael Alves, and then as Drew Dober does in every single fight, can work his way back into the fight and test your chin and see if you are a fraud. So this matchup in general is going to get a ton of my ownership, and I'm going to be leaning in the Rafael Alves direction.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if he can utilize that grappling, man, he's an interesting play there at 7,200. Next up, we got a heavyweight matchup. You got Dontel Mays, as of course Dontel Mays getting a new opponent here. He was initially scheduled to take on Justin Tafa, take on Hamdi here. Hamdi, who has fought, he's only got 3 professional MMA matchups here. One of his fights was two of his fights were bare knuckle MMA matchups for Game Bred Fighting Championships. Really, look, he hasn't fought notable competition. That's part of me that just makes it concerning to roster him.
Yeah, I'm concerned about this fight in general. And, we've seen more from Dontel Mays. So the price tag is okay, I guess. But as far as heavyweights, I don't really hold Dontel Mays in such high regard. This guy, Hamdi, new kid on the block, I don't really think that he's anything special as well. He has heavy hands, some wrestling background to him as well. It's just a matter of utilizing it in a certain matchup. And Dontel Mays, struggled against Crowder on Dana White's Contender Series. So I do wonder if there is a path to victory of Hamdi just taking him down. Alan Crowder took him down 2 times and ended up getting a TKO victory in the 3rd. But Dontel Mays is a massive, massive human being, 6'6", 81-inch reach. And Hamdi, man, he's going to be pretty undersized here because he's 6'2", 72-inch reach. So we're talking about a 9-inch reach advantage for Dontel Mays. And just so many question marks and unknowns surrounding Hamdi, especially his strength of schedule. I don't think Dontel Mays is all that good. I have to be honest. I really don't. I thought that he looked great in his bout against Josh Parisian, but I also don't hold Josh Parisian in such high regard. And heavyweight MMA, if somebody comes out with that round 1 mentality, if Hamdi says, I'm going to push a pace and just try to swing and hit you and touch that chin in round 1, he could easily walk away with this victory. And his hands aren't all that bad, but his lack of defense is troubling. So, I mean, I'm going to lean slightly towards Dontel Mays. If he's actually legitimate, he should get this done with relative ease, but literally no confidence with this matchup.
Joshua Mission says Hamdi has beat cans. Have I ever told you the line that someone in the industry told me about cans?
What?
The line was, you got cans, we got hands.
Oh, yeah. I like that. And, Hamdi, he did what he was supposed to do in some of those matchups. He got rid of his opponents quickly. Strength of schedule isn't everything, because if you're winning and how you're supposed to win, it's okay. But to a point, you're going to get tested, and it's just a matter of if Dontel Mays can test you in those aspects of your game.
If I said your least favorite 9,000 fighter is Drakkar Klose this week, would you say yes?
He's bottom 2 for me. And I mean, I like Drakkar Klose, but how I foresee this fight going, is it going to be a 15-minute war? They're going to test each other, and Rafa Garcia is going to try to implement takedowns, and Drakkar Klose probably going to get taken down a couple times, stuff him, and look to outbox Rafa Garcia. I don't suspect he's going to get another finish like he did against Brandon Jenkins. I mean, the skill comparison between Brandon Jenkins and Rafa Garcia, I think, is wide. I think Rafa is a much more talented fighter than Brandon Jenkins and poses a lot more different problems for Drakkar Klose. But yeah, I'd probably say that, I'm not in love with a lot of these 9,000 options this week. There's a few that I like Ankalaev, and I like Morales a lot at the top, but Drakkar Klose might be one of the guys I'm going to be a little light on this week.
You sent me over your sheet of all the stats on the fight. And when it comes to this fight, the one stat that stuck out to me is 42%. 42% finish rate for Drakkar Klose. Look, he took on Brandon Jenkins he did what he needed to do, but Jakar Klose is not a finisher. That's why the reason I don't love Jakar Klose in this position is a price tag situation. I do like that over 6.5 significant strikes over there on Prize Picks, but like in terms of from a DFS perspective and that race to get to 650 points, I just don't love Jakar Klose.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if he finds another finish, man, he's probably going to be a little bit low owned and is in a nice leverage spot on this slate because of the other enticing 9,000 options. But I foresee this going the distance, and I foresee Jakar Klose walking away with a victory. But Rafa Garcia is not a terrible underdog. Like, he's a guy that could win a decision. So I'm going to sprinkle him in some of my lineups.
Of course, next up, we got one of the biggest favorites on the card. That is Michael Morales. And when you look at his opponent stepping up here to take this fight here on short notice, comes over from LFA, Adam Fugitt. Pete, I mean, like this should be a Michael Morales showcase matchup.
Yeah, I like Michael Morales a lot. And against Fug, he's going to show his skills. In the striking department, I think he can hit him with a big shot, get him out of there. Fugitt has been knocked out in the past, and I know that he's talented on the mat. I do think that Morales has exceptional wrestling as well, and we just haven't seen it. I think that he's going to use his wrestling to keep it on the feet and punish Adam. So 9,500 to knock out Trevin Giles and now going against a regional talent. Adam's not bad. Like, Adam's not bad at all. But I think that this is a massive step up in competition, and I think Morales is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mike Ross in the situation. I mean, look, he is taking on more of a grappler, so that's why I kind of look at this, and I think that you're going to see Michael Morales keep this fight on the feet. That's why, two of the props over there on Prize Picks I really like with Morales: under 1.5 takedowns, under 7.5 fight time minute.
Yeah, I like Sean saying Morales first round easy money. I really like Morales this week. It's going to be hard for me to not have him a part of my lineups just because I see his potential and what he can do to his opposition, and I think it's an extremely winnable fight.
Next up, you got Edwards and Kim. 8,300 for Edwards, 7,900 for Kim. I don't love this fight for GPPs, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually okay with it, and the reason I'm okay with it is because of the volume. Right? Like, the finishing upside of either one of these is non-existent. Jocelyn Edwards, 8,300. Ji-Yeon Kim, 7,900. I'm suspecting it's going to go 15 minutes, and they're going to stand and trade. And I think that Ji-Yeon Kim looked pretty good in their previous matchup against Priscilla Cachoeira. Granted, it was a loss, but she scored 68 points in the loss. So we're talking about a fighter that threw 375 significant strikes, landed almost half, so 170 of them. And scored 68. So if she gets that nod, she's scoring 98 points. I don't think she's going to have the same amount of volume because Jocelyn Edwards is a little bit better of a striker, less powerful, but it's going to be a little bit more technical. Ji-Yeon Kim is going to be the lean for me, and it's a value, and it's squeaking into my lineups because I'm gonna like Pena this week, and I'm just going to mix and match the others. So she's going to be a fighter I'm going to get to, and if it fits, it fits. Ji-Yeon Kim for the victory.
I mean, look, both of them should have volume in this one, but to me, it comes down to is can they get any knockdowns and potentially rack up some additional points in terms of getting over 100 points. Of course, fantasy football season is quickly approaching, which means it's time to start prepping for your draft. There's no better way to start with our Stokastic Fantasy Football and Best Ball YouTube channels. Click below to subscribe to these channels and turn on your notifications for daily videos from our team of fantasy football experts, which will give you an edge when drafting this season. As we were 2 weeks away from the first preseason game. At least I know for me, I'm 2 weeks out. I think maybe the week before we got the Hall of Fame game. But yeah, man, it's football season. Training camps that start all around the league. I would say this, Pete. I don't miss having to be at training camp every day.
How about Jason?
We used to do camp in Orlando, bro.
Yeah.
Whew. Long, hot days, bro.
Yeah. I'm excited for football season. I'm not necessarily prepared. I got to do my research, but how about Jason's team picking up Julio Jones? Goodness gracious. So, man, oh man, it's going to be a wild ride.
Wearing number 85.
Okay.
So you got to get used to a little different number for Julio.
Yeah, maybe it's a new chapter in his life. So that's awesome. Yeah, Jason's still covering Tampa Bay as always, and he's lucky. He gets to watch Brady play with all those weapons. So, man, I'm excited to just see him in the league again.
Yeah, we start home against Miami in the preseason, then we go to Nashville. One of my favorite road trips. Go to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, always a fun time. If you've never been to Nashville, Pete, it's a good time. Like, I'm not a big country music guy,
Bro,
but Nashville is still. I don't know if you know this. Nashville is the bachelorette party capital of the world.
I was in Nashville one time to meet with the promoters of Strikeforce because they wanted to sign me, and the meeting didn't go well. So Nashville left a bad taste in my mouth. So I hate Nashville. But I'll tell you what, Julio did not. That whole Julio experience in Tennessee did not necessarily work out. So I'm excited to see if it was a fluke or if how he is in 2022.
Yeah, I'm happy football season's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have football season back in our life. We got two more matchups here left to break down here on the Strategy Show. Try to get through these ones. We got Eeyore and Nikolai. Eeyore 8,400, Nikolai 7,800. I feel like we have been against Nikolai every fight in the UFC.
I mean, I necessarily haven't, and I think I might have talked you into getting on the Nikolai train a couple times. I mean, especially against Ike Villanueva. The Kenny and Chuku, I still picked them, but if going back and watching that, I did not like what I saw from that, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't good. And also picking up a split decision over Alexa Kamer, so he's squeaking these fights out, but his issue is he's facing a guy, Ihor Potieria, who's extremely dangerous, but his strength of schedule is completely suspect. Like he's fought low level opposition. I do think that he has skills and he's dangerous, can hurt you on the feet, has good speed. Nikolai Negumereanu is extremely hittable. So despite all of the deficiencies surrounding his record and all the questionable opponents, I'm still going to be siding with Ihor Potieria here at 8,400. I don't love it, but I think that he's going to be able to do enough and win a decisive decision over Nikolai.
Yeah, I like Ihor in the spot as well. I'm just not big on Nikolai. And then the first matchup of the night, we got Cosce taking on Blood Diamond. Blood Diamond 7,400, Cosce 8,800. I mean, look, we all know Blood Diamond, very accomplished kickboxer, very good. But this is mixed martial arts. Cosce training at Team Alpha Male. I mean, look, the game plan should be simple here, Pete.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if Blood Diamond's actually a good kickboxer. Like I hear everybody saying that. I watch the tape. I think he's all right. I mean, he makes a ton of mistakes. He looks sloppy. It's almost looks like he's like a part of that drunken style of fighting where he's just super reckless and wild. So anything stupid can land, and like a spinning back fist could hurt Orion Cosce, or you know what I mean, something from an odd angle, especially if you get him out of there before you get taken down. But I have to side with Orion Cosce here. The takedown potential is great. The salary's fine. The skills that we saw Blood Diamond against my guy Jeremiah Wells, he looked like he didn't really know that area of MMA. I'm sure that he's patched it up a little bit, worked on it a little bit, but it's going to be Orion Cosce for me. And outside of something stupid landing, I think he wins this pretty decisively. Just hopefully he doesn't gas out.
I will tell you this, man. Looking at leverage plays for this week, Cosce is one of my leverage plays this week. I just seeing what the projections are right now with ownership. I'll be way over the field in terms of this one. Of course, Pete, let's get into our straight up fight picks. And I want to start the first fight tonight and work our way up. Just see if we get a little different here. I don't think there's any difference in the first fight, and I'm pretty sure we're both going to be on Cosce.
Yeah, Orion Cosce.
Second matchup, I'll take Ihor.
I'll take Ihor as well.
Then third fight, give me the underdog in Kim against Edwards.
Yeah, Ji-Yeon Kim.
Then we got I'll go Morales. Give me Drakkar Klose. Dontel Mays.
I hate it. Dontel Mays.
You convinced me to definitely go in on this one. Rafael Alves.
All right, I'm gonna go Rafael Alves.
I will go Semelsberger.
Okay, same. Semelsberger.
Ankalaev. Pantoja. Give me the Black Beast. I'm not gonna bet against the Black Beast.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Derek Lewis.
Moreno.
Moreno.
Here's where I think we might be different.
I'm going
I
Juliana
maybe
Pena.
I'm going to Man Nunes.
Oh Lord. Oh, okay.
Oh
I mean,
Lord.
I can't fault you. Maybe I got blinders on, but I really,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I look, it's to me, it's not a like, oh my God, I'm so on a Man Nunes. It's a slight lean here. I just look at it and say is okay, if there was a lot of issues in that training camp and how much that maybe did that hamper her physical abilities in those matchups. But who knows? Maybe after Saturday night, we're just going to realize we've seen the downfall of Man Nunes, and I'll be proven wrong. But I'll tell you, in GPPs, am I having Juliana Pena? Of course I am.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
absolutely.
if y'all remember the first fight, but Pete went straight Nostradamus and actually mentioned that Pena beating Nunes was a possibility. Go back and check the tape. It's a real thing. The dude's from the future. I don't
I
know.
wish
He's consistent,
I
Jason.
appreciate that, Tyler. I wish I actually came out even more aggressively because the night before I had a dream that Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes, and I was too afraid to mention it on the stream. But obviously, a lot of people with hindsight 2020 can claim that now. But I do think that the same thing's going to happen. I think it's going to be a TKO this time.
I just if in being a Pena backer in GPPs and cash, my hope is she's a mixed martial artist. If she goes in there and tries to have a kickboxing matchup, I just don't think that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, I also thought that Cyborg was going to be Amanda Nunes too. So we shall see.
We shall see here. Samuel, appreciate you in the super chat. Let's start his over under 7.5. Samuel, I feel like this is your best number in a couple weeks, bro.
Yeah, he's switched some things up in his personal life and laying off some things because 7.5 is fine.
What are you suggesting on Samuel?
The 2.5 was the worst line I've ever seen. I'm going to say under. I think it's about 7. It's a good line.
That's a good line. I'll say under 2. It's right. I think it's right there, though. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of going down a list of the fights. I'm like, okay, that's got a high probability. I was around 7.
Yeah. Yeah. And real quick, Mason Jones absolutely ruined everything for me last week. And I think that was the surprise of the card. In MMA, there's always going to be surprises. Mm-hmm. So, you just have to account for variance with your lineups. I did not do so. I sometimes give great advice and I do not take it myself. But yeah, I was just going to go down with the ship of Mason Jones. And boy, oh boy, did I go down.
Top 2 cash.
It's going to be Morales and Ankalaev. It has to be.
I was going to say Morales and Brand Moreno. Take that takedown potential with Moreno is interesting. Top 2 GPPs.
I'm going to do fights. Main event. Okay. Hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Pavlovich Lewis.
I would agree with you there. Top leverage plays. First fight of the night is the top leverage play of this card.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
Top dart plays. I feel like the question should be top dart plays, not name Juliana Pena.
Yeah, she's not a dart play.
Well, from a price point though.
Yeah, but I mean, like the odds shouldn't be that wide.
No.
I'm gonna say, like, I think Javi Alves has a legitimate shot. Rafa Garcia might be an interesting dart play from just winning a decision.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And by the way, I just check, see if FanDuel put the salaries out. They have not. Top optimal plays. I think, Sam, you got to be looking at fights here. To me, Lewis Pavlovich, and then both title fights. I would be relatively surprised if both title fights are not in the optimal lineup.
So that was my common build when I already started hand building a few, was get to both title fights, get to that 8,200, 8,000 fight. Like that just allows a ton of roster flexibility as well.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like a core place for me this week will be Moreno, Morales, Cosce is more of an ownership play more than anything else.
Mhm.
Even though, I hate playing the first fight of the night. And then it's just kind of sprinkling things in there. I mean, I want, I'm going to come up with a group when it comes to the title fights. I got to figure out how heavy I want to go in on the main event. My guess would be I'm probably going to have 75 to 80% exposure on the main event. Would be my guess.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to avoid it, truthfully.
I'll tell you this right now in cash. I don't think I can avoid Pena.
Yeah, and in cash also, the co-main event, stacking the co-main event's a viable strategy. Like it could go the distance and could have 60, 70 points from the loser. So I don't hate that either.
Yeah. So, but of course, myself and Pete will be here on Saturday, 5:00 Eastern time for Live Before Lock to get you ready for UFC 277. Of course, appreciate everyone tuning in to this episode of the Strategy Show. Of course, head over to the Odd Shopper channel to check out Takedown Cities. We talk about the betting slate for UFC 277. Of course, as the show in, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. If you're listening to us on the audio platforms, rate, review. It does help us a lot as well. Huge thanks to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Be sure to check out that deal they got going on for you when you sign up. Use that promo code AWESEMO for an instant first match deposit of up to $100. Let's go wrap it up for this edition of the Stokastic MMA Strategy Show. We will talk to you on Saturday for Live Before Lock. Have a good day, everybody.